Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love, here bringing you a sports overview of topics number 26 episode. Have a bit of a jam-packed episode today for all everyone tuning in. Give my thoughts on college football playoffs. Everything's about to shake up. This Saturday, we got Clemson Notre Dame ACC championship game. We got Ohio State Northwestern, and we got Florida and Alabama in the SEC title game. I'll give my thoughts on who I think will make in. Also, quick recap of UFC 256 on Saturday night. Was a good card. Also, of course, give my recap of NFL Week 14, along with my predictions for NFL Week 15 season. But thank you all for joining me. If you're new to the podcast, like and subscribe, click on that bell, and we'll get into the episode, shall we? So as I mentioned, the bowl games, the title games for the college football play that should shake up the college football playoff is going to happen on Saturday. We got Florida, who lost in a upset to LSU, are still number 6. They have a great chance to make the playoffs with a win over Bama, number 1. Well, basically it's down to 3. Ohio State, number 4, Texas A&M, 5, and Florida, 6. One of those teams will make the playoffs. I don't see Clemson dropping out even if they lose again to Notre Dame. That team's just too good. Besides, who would you put 2 of the top 3? Or 2 of the 3 between A&M, Florida, and Ohio State in? I don't think so. I think just one of those teams would get in. So, Florida versus Bama, like I said. I think, regardless, if Florida wins that game, they'll get in. Now, Ohio State faces Northwestern in the Big Ten Championship. Northwestern will not be an easy outing. They are pretty good this season. Number 14, I believe, but still will be a tough outing for Ohio State. Texas A&M, they have Tennessee, who are unranked. So the path for Ohio State would be they win, Florida loses to Bama, and that's pretty much how it would happen. Texas A&M, they have Tennessee. Their path to the playoff, I think if they win convincingly against Tennessee, Florida loses to Bama, And Ohio State has trouble with Northwestern. Either trouble or they lose. For my money, I think that I like Florida, but I think the easiest scenario would be for or actually, I'm gonna go for it. Florida beats Bama, and they get in. Yes, 9-2, but they get into the college football playoffs. Ohio State may win, but I think a win for Florida automatically should catapult them into the college football playoff. That's my opinion. Texas A&M, they have Tennessee, which should be a win, but I don't think it will be enough to put them in the college football playoffs, even though it's been a good season for A&M. So that's my thoughts on the scenarios. Now I'll give my quick thoughts on the pay-per-view, UFC pay-per-view that happened on Saturday night. We had UFC 256 quality card, some notable faces: Mackenzie Dern, Jacare, Tony Ferguson, headlined by a great title fight between Figueiredo, Davison Figueiredo, and Brandon Moreno. But first off, so Jacare Souza, who is a well-respected veteran, pretty much been through it all. Face off against Kevin Holland, and probably one of the best knockouts I'll ever see. They were exchanging on the ground and as casual trying to get up, and Holland lands a looping right hand that catches Jacare on the chin, lands another, and follows it up with a couple strikes on the ground and finishes Jacare. And what a win for Kevin Holland. Jacare, I mean, he's been floating around the last couple of years. So he hasn't really been. He kind of peaked in the UFC, I believe, 5 years ago. You know, there was that talk about, you know, either him or Luke Rockhold would get the next shot at Chris Weidman, and both looked impressive, Rockhold and Jacare. And Rockhold had that impressive win over Leo Machida, who just came off the title fight with Weidman, and finished him in convincing fashion. Choked him out. So, but yeah, heck of a win for Holland. Heck of a win for Charles Oliveira. He beat Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, of course, we all know him as the wacky veteran now. He has been at the top of the 155-pound division for years. I mean, he had a long, lengthy win streak. Of course, we know about all the times he was scheduled to fight Khabib, but that never materialized because of a reason with Khabib or Tony. It just never materialized. And I mean, not very much you could say. Tony, his last fight against Just Gaethje, he was beat down. He was picked apart by Gaethje, who just, he's in your face. He will pick you apart. Oliveira, this was his 6th straight win. It was curious how they're going to be on the ground because both are well skilled in jiu-jitsu. And Oliveira, of course, he has the lead in submissions in UFC with 14. But I mean, respect to Tony Ferguson. Took a head kick, flush, and to not tap from that armbar, I mean, just can't really say much, but hats off to Oliveira. He gets a decision win. And then back and forth, Figueiredo and Moreno. Both pieced each other up. Both had some scars after the fight. It went to a draw. Can't say much about the fight. You gotta look it over if you want to. But hats off to Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. Came in with their A game. Dana White said there should be a rematch in 2021. Both need a rest and both need to get better. Because, man, what a fight. But that was my thoughts on UFC 256. Okay, now getting to the bread and butter. Recap of Week 14 of the NFL season. What a game last night. What a game between the Browns and Ravens. I'll get into that more, but yeah, what a game by Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. The future is now in the NFL, and can't really say what. So, starting with Thursday, first of all, my record was 9-7. Pretty decent. Yeah, you can see in my predictions, 9-7. Pretty good week. Not really sure what to say. There were a bunch of close games. This week that I was on the wrong side of, but was a good week nonetheless. It's just a win that all the games are being played and getting through this COVID and the season is getting closer and closer being played out. So on that, but starting with the Patriots Rams game on Thursday night. So the Rams won 24-3. The Rams, now, first of all, starting with the Rams, of course they've been overlooked. They are not that exciting team that you would expect, but they are a well-balanced team on offense. Cam Akers had himself a day. Jared Goff did what he needed to do. They have solid receivers, tight ends. Obviously, the defense has playmakers: Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, Brockers, Jalen Ramsey, cornering the secondary. Can't really say much about the defense. They bent, but they didn't break, basically. Now on to the Patriots side. I don't know. Well, because I was worried because for the second straight game, I was worried that I would have to follow it on my phone because our TV went out due to big rain, as it also was snowy. But the Patriots, I mean, there were drives they went up and down the field, but they just couldn't punch it in. And, I mean, when you look at the totality, I mean, some coaches don't think of the bigger picture. They just think of in the moment. I mean, we had our opportunities. If we just kicked those field goals and Cam, if he didn't throw that pick six, maybe we moved the ball up and down the field. It just, I don't know. I mean, we still have a chance to go to end up above 500 and make the playoffs, but it's even slimmer after this loss. I don't know, but hats off to Rams. The Sunday games, so it was Vikings Bucks, highly anticipated game. Two teams that were in the wild card hunt. Tampa Bay was kind of reeling. Vikings came in the hot team. Won out their last 5 out of 6. But the story today was the Vikings moved the ball well. They controlled it for the first part of the game. They just couldn't rack up points, and most of that was due to their kicker, Dan Bailey, missed 10 points worth of kicks. 3 field goals and an extra point, which one made it 26-24 late. And who knows, they were on the brink of field goal range. There were times when they were in field goal range, but they were hesitant to draw him out there because his inconsistency. And I feel for Dan Bailey. I feel for the Vikings. Their offense did what it needed to do. It's just their special teams could not help them out. But for the Bucs side, there was some good and there was some bad. Ronald Jones had a decent day. Tom Brady, he made some good throws, but there was a lot to be desired. However, this was a win the Bucs kind of need to have. They have 2 games against the Falcons coming up. I would expect them to get to 10 wins at least. they can still potentially be the 5 seed. And that 5 seed, it depends. Because I would not want to face a healthy Giants team or Washington team in the first round. Because that would be just a trap game. But go for Tampa. Minnesota is still in the wildcard race for the 7th seed, but they need some help. So then we get to the Cardinals versus Giants. This was a get-right game for the Cardinals. They fell 3 straight. Hassan Reddick, he had 5 sacks. They had 8 sacks in total. I'm just confused. Because it's clear as day Daniel Jones wasn't healthy 100%. They should have started Colt McCoy. The Giants' offense line, which was playing pretty admirable as of late, were nowhere to be found. And I just don't get it. But good for the Cardinals. They're back in the wildcard picture. Giants, they are still in play due to their division, but they need to get right. Because they got Cleveland on Sunday night next week. Next, we had the Chiefs play the Dolphins. It was a pretty solid game. I would say the Dolphins, they picked off Mahomes 3 times. Yes, you could say the first 2 were picked, but still it classifies as a pick. And what people don't factor in is, well, Mahomes probably threw it too high, or they probably pressured him into making an errant throw. So, I mean, sometimes they won't include that, but it was 10-0 Dolphins, and then the Chiefs just picked it up and picked it up. It was 30-10 before you knew it, and Tua and the Dolphins came back best they could. The Dolphins missed the field goal and then the safety, which for all intents and purposes, because they kicked the field goal to make a 1-score game late, but in theory, if those happen, then they'd be going for the game-winning touchdown, but, some things just don't happen, but the Dolphins still did what they could. They're still in the thick of things as far as the wild card picture is. And the Chiefs now are the 1 seed, and but it wasn't pretty, to say the least, by the Chiefs. What wasn't pretty as well was the dismantling of the Jaguars by the Titans. Derrick Henry basically owns the Titans, the Jaguars. I mean, he's a part of the Titans, but he owns the Jaguars. Derrick Henry, his 4th game with 200+ plus yards and 2 touchdowns. Jumps over Jim Brown, LaDainian Thompson, Barry Sanders with 4. So 31-10. Derrick Henry is definitely in line, I would say, for the MVP award. He should definitely get some votes. Definitely. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, if Derrick Henry was not on the Titans, I think they'd still be admirable with Ryan Tannehill, but I'm not sure they'd be as this good. I would not want to face them in the playoffs. I would not. Next, we go from that to Andy Dalton's revenge game. Andy Dalton got sweet revenge against Cincinnati. Dallas won 37. I mean, you kind of expected it. Nice feel-good moment for Andy Dalton. He played 9 years. He played pretty well with the Bengals, but they weren't able to win a playoff game and get further along those lines. No one say it was really his fault. It was just the circumstances and just didn't go that way. However, good for Andy Dalton. Funny, the Cowboys are only 2 games back of the division, which is weird, but something to think about. My advice for the Bengals, just win or just lose as much as you can. Get a high draft pick. Get someone to protect Joe Burrow, please, next season. Please. Where was the protection for Deshaun Watson? Oh my God. The Bears dismantled the Texans 36-7. I mean, you're always going to think about when you talk about Trubisky, Mahomes, and Watson, the 2017 draft. I mean, of course, they could have had Watson or Mahomes, but they picked Trubisky. Trubisky outplayed Deshaun Watson on Sunday. And, good for them. As bad as it's been in the last month or so for the Bears, they can still win out and make the playoffs, which may save all 3 of their jobs. Ryan Pace, Matt Nagy, and Mitchell Trubisky. Maybe it could happen. We'll see. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But good for Trubisky. Deshaun Watson, who was banged up as well. So, yeah. Next was a pretty good game by one Drew Lock. A Super Bowl 50 rematch. The Broncos beat the Carolina Panthers 32-27. Drew Lock had 4 touchdowns. Good for Drew Lock. If he can just be more consistent and stay healthy, the Broncos have themselves a gem. That's what I'll say. And the Panthers, they look kind of stagnant on offense. You know, Christian McCaffrey, I'm not surprised if he doesn't play for the rest of the season. They just save him for next year. But yeah, good for the Broncos, so nonetheless. And good for the Seahawks. They dominated as they should have the Jets, the hapless Jets, 40-3. Now, the one thing that was most interesting about this game, probably the only thing that was interesting about this game, was Jamal Adams' revenge game. And he harassed the Jets. Sweet revenge for him. He has 8.5 sacks on the year. The most by a defensive back. Good for him and good for the Seahawks. They need this win to get back on track. And then next, the Colts, Raiders. I was very intrigued about this matchup. The Colts won 44-27. This was crucial as far as the playoffs go. You know, the Raiders, now they fall to 7-6. They can still make the playoffs, but this kind of hampers their chances a bit. The Colts, as we know, are a tough team. They are a balanced team. And with the running game going with T.Y. Hilton healthy and Philip Rivers not doing too much, that defense is legit. They can beat anyone. They are, I would say they're the biggest test to the Chiefs. In my opinion, they are the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC because of how balanced they are on both sides of the ball. They can play with anyone. Then was an ugly game. Washington beat the Niners 23-15. Nick Mullins, well, first of all, 2 defensive touchdowns by Washington. 5 straight games with a pick for Nick Mullins. It's just not pretty. Washington, if you take out those 2 touchdowns, they only scored 9 points. Now, Alex Smith, he got hurt at the end of the first half. We'll have to see about his status, but Washington, they move in the first place in the East. So, really interesting as far as that goes. And then what a debut for Jalen Hurts. He and the Eagles beat the Saints 24-21. Now, the Saints, as we know, are facing the Chiefs next week. So, which is a big game for both. Now, when you look at the start of both teams, the Chiefs and Saints, you both say they started flat, and you could kind of say they were both looking towards that game next week. Saints looked like they were more looking towards that game than Chiefs. Taysom Hill and the Saints still kept them in it towards the end, but yeah, it just didn't happen. The Eagles, now, it wasn't a world beater win by the Eagles, 24-21. But the Eagles felt energized, and hats off to both. Alshon Jeffrey had a touchdown. It's just solid by the Eagles. Jalen Hurts had over 100 yards rushing. This game I don't get. It was almost almost upsetting to watch. Falcons and the Chargers, two of the teams that you probably see jinx the most. And the Chargers, well, Matt Ryan threw the game away twice. He got back thanks to his defense once. I mean, Anthony Lynn will probably most definitely get fired at the end of the season, but good for Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Packers beat the Lions, but I think we kind of expected that. Lions kind of made it close late. See the status of Matthew Stafford. He took a big hit at the end of the game. Packers moving the number one seed. You most definitely believe either home field advantage throughout the playoffs will be Lambeau Field, cold Lambeau Field, or in the Dome, Mercedes-Benz Superdome. So we'll see about that. Then I'll be back in a sec. 1 sec, sorry. Okay, now I'm back. Sorry about that. So then we got to back to the games. So Sunday Night Football, another intriguing matchup. The Bills and the Steelers. Bills won 26-15, but it was ugly to start. It was defensive turnover like battle. It was a fumble that set up first touchdown of the game for Steelers. They thought, okay, they could gut it out and win on defense. The Bills came back, scored a field goal. Then Big Ben threw a pick six, which kind of persuade the momentum towards Buffalo's side when he thought, okay, perhaps Pittsburgh can gut it out in an ugly defensive game. But Buffalo just took it, and it wasn't pretty by either side. Josh Allen had himself a day. Wasn't real pretty, but he just had a solid day. And Steelers offense, I mean, 3 straight games under 20 points. It's just... Now, part of that's the defenses they're facing. Ravens have a good defense. Washington has good defense. Bills, of course, same. But if you're a Steelers fan, you're just kind of worried. Now, James Conner came back, but didn't do anything. Now, part of that's the injuries, I would say, on the offensive line of the Steelers. I mean, James Conner has had 100-yard games this season, but it's just not the same. Now, next week they play Cincinnati, and should be a get-right game for the Steelers. But it's a bit concerning as far as the playoffs go, because unless they get better on offense, then I'm worried regardless of who you face in the playoffs. Because if you can't run the ball and score over 20 points, then I'm confused. Big Ben talked about how they need to get better, especially him. They do need to get better. And then probably game of the year to close out week 14. Ravens Browns 47-42. Now, this was as advertised. Probably not game of the year, people thought, but exceeded expectations. Now, the Ravens are a bit concerning. Why? Because besides Lamar Jackson and that running game, they couldn't really get anything going. And it was kind of concerning. The Browns, they had their way. They were moving the ball. Running the ball. They just kind of beat themselves, I would say. There was that pick by Baker Mayfield, which set up a touchdown, and the Browns missed a field goal. I mean, but this was back and forth. I mean, it was 14-21. Then it was 28-14. Browns came all the way back. 28-28. Then next thing you know, it's 35-34. 42-42. I just now after that rushing touchdown by Baker Mayfield, uh, you felt that all the momentum was there. The Browns were riled up. You know, Lamar Jackson wasn't in there. It was Tracy McSorley. Um, you know, they're kind of driving down near midfield. Um, it felt like McSorley was having quality day. Lamar Jackson had cramps. He wasn't in there for a foreseeable time. And then in a weird sequence, on third down, looked like perhaps a read option by McSorley. He falls down. Um, Thankfully, it's just a minor knee sprain, and he should be back soon. But a weird sequence. Lamar Jackson comes back out as McSorley is injured because RG3 is on IR. McSorley was hurt. So you're thinking, and Lamar Jackson's in the locker room. So it's like, who's going to play quarterback? And then next thing you know, Lamar Jackson comes back out, throws a touchdown to uh, Marquise Brown when it looked like he was going to run for a first down, and two of the defenders of the Browns ran into each other, and next thing you know, Ravens get ahead, hit a 2-point conversion. Browns come all the way back, but however, left over a minute left on the clock with a touchdown. Tied at 42-42. Now, Ravens came back. Lamar Jackson threw a couple nice throws to Mark Andrews, which ultimately set up Justin Tucker. Now, I'm surprised because less than 10 seconds, you have 2 timeouts for the Browns. Why not call a timeout to try ice Justin Tucker? Yes, I know he only missed one last week, but still, try to ice him. And you did. And, Browns had a chance to try to lateral it, but yeah, didn't work. Hats off to Ravens. They stay in it. The wildcard race. And the Browns showed that they're for real. Even though they win, that they're for real. And talk about a draining game, I would say. Just draining. Alright, so that's my recap of Week 14. Now I'll get into my Week 15 predictions along with my analysis of the AFC and NFC wildcard races. Excuse me. So, starting off Week 15. Or actually, I'll get into the wildcard race first, and then. So, in the. Or no way, actually, I'll do the Week 15, and then I'll do the wildcard races. Sorry, I'm stifling through. So, Starting off Week 15, Thursday Night Football. Raiders hosted the Chargers. Now, this was a fun game early in the year. It came down to not a touchdown called for the Chargers, which gave the Raiders a win. Chargers, they got the win last week, but it was ugly. Raiders fired their defense coordinator, Paul Gunter, promoted Rod Marinelli as their defense coordinator for the rest of the season. It's confusing because Gruden, he brought Gunther with him to Vegas or to the Raiders when he came there. So it's kind of weird, but oh well. This is a game the Raiders need to win to stay in the playoff picture and to have any chance of getting the last seed. So I'm going with the Raiders. They are more desperate. They need to win. I'm going with the better team, 24-20 Raiders. Excuse me. So we got a doubleheader on Saturday. Saturday football. Bills at Broncos. Both coming off impressive wins. Bills, it was ugly. Broncos did what they needed to. This is an intriguing matchup because the Broncos, they have a pretty good but not excellent defense. And Drew Lock, when he's right, he is one of the most explosive quarterbacks in the league. He can be. So I think Drew Lock will challenge the Broncos, and it just feels like a weird game. But now, they're not the better team, but I'm going with the Broncos to win 30-27. That's my opinion. And then Thursday or Saturday night football. Panthers at Packers. Panthers should not have Chris McCaffrey again. I mean, they're a quality team. People thought they were taking during this year. They did what they needed to do, but the Packers are the team that are playing for more. And Packers win 28-17. Next up, 49ers at Cowboys. Who is going to play quarterback for the 49ers Sunday? Whoever it is, I trust Andy Dalton more than I trust Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard. Plus, they have more talent on the offensive side of the ball. So, and the Cowboys are not out of it. They're only 2 games behind of the division. So, I'm going with Cowboys to win 34-20 over the Niners. Next up intriguing game. Seahawks going to Washington to play the football team. Now, Seahawks got back on track versus the Jets on Sunday. Washington is now in the lead for the division. What is the health status of Alex Smith? I'm not sure. They said he's day to day, but right now, I think it's going to be Russell Wilson versus Dwayne Haskins. If that's the case, I'm going with the Seahawks to win in a bit of a defensive struggle, 20-14 over Washington. Next up, a crucial game as far as the wild card picture is concerned. The race for 7th seed. Chicago at Minnesota. Now, we saw this game a few weeks ago. Everything was going right for Chicago except their offense. Their offense seems to be doing better as of late. Minnesota's secondary continues to be a liability. And I just think that the better defense is the Bears. And if they can just play complementary football, they're running the ball. I'm going with the Bears to win 26-21. Next up, we got the Patriots going to Miami to play the Dolphins. The Patriots, they still have a chance, a slim chance, but still a chance. Dolphins, as well, are currently the 7th seed in the playoff picture. This is a must-have game for both. I think that there's some inconsistency on the Miami offense, and we've played them well in week 1. I'm going with the more desperate team, the Patriots, to win 27-24. Next up, the Ravens. They won the game of the year last night against Browns. Have kind of a quick turnaround to play the Jags on Sunday. The Jags, they were kind of playing well offensively the last couple weeks, but I don't see them scoring as many points as the Ravens, so I'm going with them to win 29-14. Although it was a real emotionally draining game, so I wouldn't be surprised if Jags maybe keep it close for a bit. Next up, the Buccaneers go to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Now, I mean, Matt Ryan and the Falcons, they looked kind of dreadful last week. Their offense is just kind of disappointing. I mean, the Falcons were definitely a team you expected more of this season. And yeah, the Buccaneers have more to play for, and this is when they need to have to stay with the playoff picture. 33-24 Buccaneers. Next up, Lions going to Tennessee to play the Titans. This is simple for me. Derrick Henry's running roughshod. Lions are not that good against the run, whether it's Chase Daniel or Matthew Stafford. I'm going with the Titans 31-23. Next up, Colts Texans Part 2. Colts got away with a win last time. Deshaun Watson left the game for the Bears banged up, which is not good if the Texans have any hope to win the game. So, Colts win 26-20. Next, this should be an intriguing game. Cardinals hosting Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Two alumni Oklahoma Sooners, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts gave the Eagles a spark in winning their game last week. But now you could say that was good by the Eagles, but you can also kind of say that the Saints were looking ahead a bit. And now, after 1 week, perhaps the Cardinals can kind of control the clock. Kyler Murray was looking good last week. He looked a bit more healthier, and a more healthier Kyler Murray means more runs and more versatility on offense. So, in a close one, I see the Cardinals winning 21-20. This one is not really hard to talk about, but it's simple. Rams beat the Jets 28-7. Simple. Now, this one next is very interesting. Chiefs go to Mercedes-Benz Superdome to play the Saints. Boy, oh boy. Now, excuse me. I hit my microphone. I can so good. Okay, I'm good. So, Chiefs Saints. Now, both teams had kind of a hiccup last week. And now, Chiefs still won, but it was not really good to start. And then the Saints were kind of flat, but however, their defense still held their own. Their offense was admirable, was okay, but I think the Saints will be right back Um, they'll probably be pissed at how they played. Sean Payton's probably gonna have them fired up. The Chiefs, I mean, I think we can see they're kind of bored at times. That's just how it is. I mean, when you have so much firepower on offense, it's kind of the norm. They're, I mean, I get it. I mean, when you have so many pieces on offense, you kind of get stale at times. I just think I don't see the Saints dropping two in a row, especially with the Packers taking the number one seed. You know the Saints are going to come right back and try to win. And the way the Saints play on defense, they can get pressure just rushing four on defense, which they can probably play coverage against the Saints, and that's the way, or the Chiefs, excuse me, and that's the way you beat the Chiefs. And the Saints have enough firepower on offense, bunch of weapons. They're not going to slow down the Chiefs, but they will score enough points. And I'm going with the Saints to win 35-33. Next up, Sunday Night Football. Browns at Giants. Sunday Night Football with the Browns. You don't hear that often, but these Browns are for real. 9-4. The Giants now 5-8. The first time since Eli Manning retired, the Giants are on Sunday Night Football. Now, I'm a bit worried because the game was so emotionally draining on Monday night that the Browns, this game, and the Giants are kind of desperate right now. Because that game popped a bubble. They won 4 straight. They were 5-7. Now they're 5-8. They're a game back of the division, and they know that they need this win. If they're gonna have a chance at the division title. So, because they also have the Ravens and they have the Cowboys to finish this season. So, this is tough. I'm going with the Giants and defensive struggle. 17. Wait. Oh, I'm going with better team. but I won't be surprised if it's close. 24-17. Then next to close up Week 15, Monday Night Football, Steelers at Bengals. Don't really need to say much. Steelers need to get back on track. This is a get-right game for them. The Steelers need this. So, going with Steelers to win 27-16. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Week 15. Now I'll give a quick rundown of the AFC and NFC playoff picture. So, we got the race to the AFC wildcard picture. So, we got the Colts, the Dolphins, and the Ravens, and the Raiders. Basically what it comes down to. Or actually, let's go to Dolphins, Ravens, and Raiders. So the Dolphins are currently 8-5. And let's see. So I'll go this for game to game across the team. So Dolphins, I said they were going to lose to the Patriots. Okay. Ravens, I have them being the Jaguars. Raiders, I have them being the Chargers. Okay. So then, Week 16, Dolphins, Raiders. I have the Dolphins losing to the Raiders, Ravens losing to the Giants, and of course, Raiders being the Dolphins. So then Week 17, Dolphins have the Bills. I think they win that. Ravens beat the Bengals Week 17. And the Raiders beat Broncos. So how that would stack up means the Raiders would get the 7th seed over the Ravens and the Dolphins. Sounds crazy, but that's how it breaks down. Now, as far as the race for the 7th seed in the NFC, it comes down to the Cardinals, the Vikings, and the Bears. So, give a quick rundown. So, I have the Cardinals being the Eagles next week. I have the Bears being the Vikings next week. So then, Week 16, I have Cardinals being the 49ers, sweeping them. I have Vikings losing to the Saints, and then I have the Bears being the Jaguars. Then Week 17 wraps up. Cardinals face are at the Rams, and the Rams are still in the race for the top seed in the AFC. So I have the Cardinals losing to the Rams. Vikings beat the Lions. And the Bears get revenge on Week 17 and beat the Packers. So by that virtue, that would have the Cardinals 9-7, the Vikings 7-9, the Bears 9-7, and the Bears would have the tiebreaker getting the 7th seed in the AFC. So, for all you Bears fans that were worried, that's the driver's seat. Now, could all change. If the Cardinals win out, it's simple. They win the 7th seed. Probably more. If the Vikings win out and the Cardinals drop one, they have the 7th seed, basically. And the scenario just dropped for the Bears. So, those are the scenarios. So, I just went over that. So, that was the episode for you guys. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. Thank you all for this episode of Sports Overview Topics. Like I said, if you're new, like and subscribe. Check out my videos for your predictions or reviews or anything you want to know. Click on my videos. I'll be back on Thursday with my AEW Dynamite review. With that, thank you all and see you Thursday.